Chapter 12 of Jimbo. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Jimbo by Algernon Blackwood. Read by Adrian Pretzelis. Chapter 12. The Four Winds. The governess left the boy to his own reflections almost immediately. He spent the hours thinking and resting, going over again in his mind every incident of the great flight, and wondering when the real final escape would come, and what it would be like. Thus, between the two states of excitement, he forgot for a while that he was still a prisoner, and the spell of horror was temporarily lifted from his heart. The day passed quickly, and when Miss Lake appeared in the evening she announced that there could be no flying again that night, and that she wished instead to give him important instruction for the future. There were rules and signs and times which he must learn carefully. The time might come when he would have to fly alone, and he must be prepared for everything. "The first thing I have to tell you," she said exactly as though it was a schoolroom, "is never fly over the sea. Our kind of wings quickly absorb the finer particles of water and get clogged and heavy over the sea. You finally cannot resist the drawing power of the water, and you will be dragged down and drowned. So be very careful. When you are flying high, it is often difficult to know where the land ends and the sea begins, especially on moonless nights, but you can always be certain of one thing. If there are no sounds below you, horses' hoofs, voices, wheels, you are certainly over the sea." "Yes," said the child, listening with great attention. "And what else?" "The next thing is, don't fly too high. Though we fly like birds, remember we are not birds, and we can fly where they can't. We can fly in the ether." "Where's that?" he interrupted, half afraid of the sound. She stooped and kissed him, laughing at his fear. "There's nothing to be frightened about," she explained. "The air gets lighter and lighter as you go higher, till at last it stops altogether. Then there's only ether left. Birds can't fly in ether because it's too thin. We can because—" "Is that why it was good for me to get lighter and thinner?" he interrupted again, in a puzzled voice. "Partly, yes." "And what happens in the ether, please?" It still frightened him a little. "Nothing, except that if you were to fly too high, you reach a point where the earth ceases to hold you, and you dash off into space. Weight leaves you then, and the wings move without effort. Faster and faster you rush upwards, till you lose all control of your movements, and then—" Miss Lake hesitated a moment. "And then?" asked the fascinated child. "You may never come down again," she said slowly. "You may be sucked into anything that happens to come your way, a comet or a shooting star or the moon." "I should like a shooting star best," observed the boy, deeply interested. "The moon frightens me, I think. It looks so dreadfully clean." "You wouldn't like any of them when the time comes," she laughed. "No one ever gets out again who once gets in. But you'll never be caught that way after what I've told you," she added with decision. "I shall never want to fly as high as that, I'm sure," said Jimbo. "And now, please, what comes next?" The next thing, she went on to explain, was the weather, which to all flying creatures was of the utmost importance. Before starting for a flight he must always carefully consider the state of the sky, and the direction in which he wished to go. For this purpose he must master the meaning and character of the four winds, and be able to recognize them in a moment. "Once you know these," she said, "you cannot possibly go wrong. To make it easier, I've put each wind into a little simple rhyme for you." "I'm listening," he said eagerly. "The north wind is one of the worst and most dangerous, because it blows so much faster than you think. It's taken you 10 miles before you think you've gone 2. In starting with a north wind, always fly against it. Then it will bring you home easily. If you fly with it, you may be swept so far that the day will catch you before you can get home, and then you're as good as lost. Even birds fly warily when this wind is about. It has no lulls or resting places in it. It blows steadily on, and conquers everything it comes against, everything except the mountains." "And its rhyme?" asked Jimbo, all ears. "It will show you the joy of the birds, my child. You shall know their terrible bliss. It will teach you to hide when the night is wild from the storm's too passionate kiss. For the wind of the north is a volleying forth that will lift you with springs in the heart of your wings, and may sweep you away to the edge of the day. So beware the wind of the north, my child. Fly not with the wind of the north." "I think I like him all the same," said Jimbo, "but I'll remember always to fly against him." "The east wind is worse still, for it hurts," continued the governess. "It stings and cuts. It's like the breath of an ice creature. It brings hail and sleet and cold rain that beat down wings and blind the eyes. Like the north wind, too, it is dreadfully swift and full of little whirlwinds, and may easily carry you into the light of the day that would prove your destruction. Avoid it always. No hiding place is safe from it. This is the rhyme. It will teach you the secrets the eagles know of the tempest's and whirlwind's birth, and the magical weaving of rain and snow as they fall from the sky to the earth. But an easterly wind is for ever unkind. It will torture and twist you, and never assist you, but will drive you with might to the verge of the night. So beware the wind of the east, my child. Fly not with the wind of the east." "The west wind is really a very nice and jolly wind in itself," she went on, "but it's dangerous for a special reason. It will carry you out to sea. The empty house is only a few miles from the coast, and a strong west wind would take you there almost before you had time to get down to earth again. And there's no use struggling against a really steady west wind, for it's simply tireless. Luckily it rarely blows at night, and goes down with the sun. Often too it blows hard to the coast, and then drops suddenly, leaving you among the fogs and the mists of the sea." "Rather a nice exciting sort of wind," remarked Jimbo, waiting for the rhyme. "So at last you shall know from their lightest breath to which heaven each wind belongs, and shall master their meaning for life or death by the shout of their splendid songs. For the wind of the west is a wind unblessed. It is lifted and kissed by the spirits of mist. It will clasp you and flee to the wastes of the sea. So beware the wind of the west, my child. Fly not with the wind of the west." "A jolly wind," observed Jimbo again. "But that doesn't leave much over to fly with," he added sadly. "They all seem dangerous or cruel." "Yes," she laughed, "and so they are till you can master them. Then they're kind. The only one that's really always safe and kind is the wind of the south. It's a sweet, gentle wind, beloved of all that flies, and you can't possibly mistake it.
You can tell it at once by the murmuring way it